this is Charmaine Ironside with Ironside Fitness, and I'm here today to talk about the pelvic floor, a little bit about my background with it, why it's important to strengthen it, and how to properly strengthen it in isolation. So when I was 24 years old, I had a very, very devastating experience happen to me. I broke my back in a snowboarding accident, burst one of my vertebrae, a lot of spinal cord damage, which ended up meaning that a lot of my left leg was disabled. I had to rehabilitate it, but also my pelvic floor was extremely weak, almost to the point that I couldn't even, stop the flow of gas or urine. I had to relearn how to do a lot of bodily functions again, and I won't get into too many details. So that really started an interest to learn more about the pelvic floor. My physical therapist in my rehab taught me some different exercises, and I pursued that quite far with physio, did a lot of my own research, and really got my strength in my pelvic floor back, not quite to 100% because I still have moderate nerve weakness in those areas, but I really got it back to a place where my quality of life was good and I was able to do the things I could do before. So, fast forward a couple years, I got a little bit lazy with my exercises and I got pregnant. So, starting to have that increased weight from the baby, starting to push down on the pelvic floor, a few years of not strengthening it regularly, and I started to notice that when I sneezed, when I jumped, when I laughed, when I ran, I was starting to have a little bit of leakage of urine, which is embarrassing and it's a hindrance on quality of life. So that really got me motivated again to start doing my exercises. So I actually pursued a certification in pre and postnatal fitness and a lot of learning there about pelvic floor again, learning more about the anatomy, more about why we do it. And I really started to love to share that with people. So that's a little bit about me. I had an amazing birth. I totally think having a strong, flexible, and amazing pelvic floor helped me have a beautiful birth, no interventions, no tearing. Maybe that's TMI, but I really think when it's birth prep, it's important to know how to strengthen the pelvic floor, how to relax the pelvic floor, and it can really help with your birth as well. So anyways, I'm more focused on the gym now. I'm running, I'm jumping, I'm really trying to get the most out of my workouts. And for my abdominal training, I know that the pelvic floor is the foundation of everything we do here. So if you have a strong pelvic floor, everything above it, it's like the foundation of a house, everything above it has a better chance to be strong. So that's another motivator to do pelvic floor exercises, is that everything's connected. So if your pelvic floor is strong, your six-pack, your transverse abdominis, everything can just work more effectively as a unit. Also just, there's so many benefits to having strong pelvic floor. Not having that embarrassing leakage, preventing pelvic girdle pain, with pregnancy and birth, having a strong pelvic floor so that you can have a good birth, maybe a healthier, stronger, more flexible, supple pelvic floor that has better blood flow because it's been exercised is more likely to stretch properly and not tear during labor. So those are some reasons. Yes, even sexual function and pleasure. I won't get into those details either, but if your pelvic floor is strong, you're going to have a way better sex life for you and your partner. So that might be a motivator too. So how to do proper Kegels or pelvic floor contractions, I'll get to that. I just wanted to say a couple things. Some people say that the pelvic floor, the feeling is like stopping the flow of urine. That's a great cue, but I would never recommend stopping the flow of urine as an exercise because it can lead to urinary tract infections and it can actually weaken the pelvic floor rather than strengthen it. So that's one thing to say. Also, making sure that it doesn't hurt when you're doing it. If it does, definitely stop right away, see a healthcare provider. I've got training in this, but nowhere near the amount that pelvic floor physios or certain professionals do. So if you find today, when you're trying these exercises, it's just not making sense, it's just not feeling right, I would really recommend seeing a pelvic floor physio because they actually use their hands up your vagina and they can see if you're doing the pelvic floor exercises properly. So if you feel today that you're getting the hang of it, great. And if you feel like you need more help with that, let us know at Ironside and we can definitely refer you on, because I have a few really good pelvic floor physios that I know. So other than that, I'd recommend starting on your back because that takes the pressure off the pelvic floor. Once you get stronger with it, sitting, standing, doing it in different positions is great. But I really think when you're first starting, it's really important to focus in because some of the exercises are a bit tricky. So sorry I have my notes, I just don't want to forget anything. So the first exercise I wanted to start with is just a basic pelvic floor contraction. So you can lay on your back, and we're always going to relax on the inhale. So as you inhale, just totally relax the pelvic floor. Take a few breaths, get yourself kind of situated. We're totally relaxing your abs, our butts, everything's relaxed. You can have your feet planted, I recommend that. And so we're going to inhale to relax the pelvic floor. And then we're going to exhale and pull up on the pelvic floor. So inhale to totally relax. As you breathe out or as you exhale, you pull up on the pelvic floor. And really try to focus today on just the pelvic floor because there's the glutes that the butt likes to help and the abs, but we don't want that today. Today we're just really focusing on getting the pelvic floor, the levator ani, those pelvic floor muscles to work on their own. So remember, inhaling to relax, exhaling to engage and pull up. So a few cues I like to say, imagine you're stopping the flow of urine and gas at the same time. That's kind of a big contraction. You can also think of pulling up on the perineum, which is just the area between your urethra and your anus, that whole hammock, that whole pelvic floor basically. Another one that's kind of funny, people usually laugh, but inhaling to relax, exhaling, and imagine you're sipping through a straw a thick milkshake with your vagina. So you're really pulling up, you're engaging that pelvic floor, you're sipping that milkshake with your vagina. So those are some cues you can use when you're thinking of how it feels to engage the whole pelvic floor. So let's do two more like that. Inhale to relax. Exhale to pull up on the pelvic floor, just the pelvic floor. Stopping the flow of gas and urine at the same time. Everything's engaged, trying to relax the abs and the glutes. Inhale to everything relaxes. And it's really important to know how to relax. You don't want to always be tight in the pelvic floor. So that's why I keep saying inhale to relax, complete relax. And then exhale one more time, pull up on everything, globally pulling up. And then inhale, relax. So you can play around with that, attaching the breath to it. I always recommend doing the exertion on the exhale, or the hard part, the contraction on the exhale, and the relax on the inhale. I would recommend doing about 10 repetitions of that one. So if you want to pause the tape and finish your 10, go for it. And then we're going to move on to anterior contraction. So there's kind of the front of the pelvic floor and the back. So the front is where the urethra is, where urine comes out. So I just want you to do the inhale to relax. And then as you exhale, we're going to isolate the front of the pelvic floor. So imagine pulling the walls of the vagina together at the front specifically. Don't worry if the back is active, but just focus your mental energy on the front. Inhale, relax. Exhale, contracting the front like you're stopping the flow of just urine. Inhale, relax. Exhale, just contracting the front, bringing the walls of the vagina together, and just focusing on the pelvic floor, trying to keep the abs relaxed, the glutes. It's harder said than done. It takes practice, but the more mindful you are, the better. So this is not something I recommend just doing in the car, doing at the grocery store, because it takes concentration, especially at first. Once you've mastered it, sure, do it in line at the grocery store, but to start, you deserve 10 minutes a day or every 2 days. That's what I do. I book 10 minutes to just focus on it. So inhale, relax. Exhale, pulling at the front. The walls of the vagina are coming together. You're stopping the flow of urine. So that's the anterior. So I would recommend, again, do about 10 of those, attaching a breath to each one. And now we're going to imagine working the back of the pelvic floor. So I like saying it's like stopping the flow of gas. So if you're out in public and you got to stop a fart from coming out, you're going to inhale and then exhale and squeeze at the back of the pelvic floor. The anus pulls together and you're stopping the flow of gas. So inhaling to relax everything. Some people find it easier to do that back versus the front. It's good to be able to be strong at both though. So exhale, stopping the flow of gas. And if you find one is way harder than the other, maybe do a few extra repetitions of that one. So inhaling to relax the whole pelvic floor. And then exhale, pull up on the anus, squeeze like you're holding that fart in. Not that it's good to hold a fart in, but it's just that feeling. And then relax. So shake it out. If you're getting frustrated already, maybe that's a sign that you might want to engage a pelvic floor physio, because this does take a lot of concentration, muscle control, focus, and it might be useful to have that tactile feedback. So I know for me, I had so much weakness in my pelvic floor after my injury that I needed someone to tell me, like literally, you're at a strength level of 1 out of 4 and we need to really work on this. And then I could have a couple weeks to practice and go back and kind of know that I was progressing. So now I know if I'm leaking when I sneeze and jump, my pelvic floor is weakened and I need to get my butt in gear and work on it again. And I notice right away the improvements. So I don't feel like I need to regularly go to pelvic floor physio, but if you're just really new to it and you're just not getting it in this video, then I would definitely look into going to one, and I have some great referrals. So we're going to now do something called the wave. So you're going from the back to the front. Okay, so you're going to take an inhale to relax everything, and then you're going to exhale, pull up on the back, the anus, stopping that flow of gas. You can still breathe normally, but keep that back contraction. We're holding it, and now we're going to bring it as a wave from the back. We're keeping the back contracted, but we're bringing it all the way to the front, to the urethra area, and now we're holding everything for 5 more seconds. Hold it, you're breathing, and then you can just totally relax. So that's kind of one that brings the isolated exercises together as one. So again, you inhale, exhale to squeeze the anus, hold it for 5 seconds, just at the back, just that focus at the back, and then slowly bring your attention all the way to the front, keeping the back contracted, the anus, but all the way to the urethra. That whole pelvic floor hammock is engaged. Hold it, max contraction, hold it, and relax. So do that one more time together. It's a really great exercise to bring everything together using that mind-body connection. So inhale, relax. Exhale, engage the back of the pelvic floor, the anus, squeezing like you're keeping a fart in, holding it for 3, relaxing your abs, glutes, breathing still, and then keeping that back contraction but coming to the front, to the urethra, pulling up on everything. It's a maximal contraction of the pelvic floor. Hold it for 3, everything's pulling up, for 2, your glutes aren't tight, your abs aren't tight, and relax. So you definitely want to relax between every contraction. If you need longer to reset the pelvic floor, you take as long as you need. There's no rushing in this. The last exercise today is a fast contraction. So when we sneeze, when we, maybe we do want to hold a fart in, or we laugh, or we have that explosive kind of pressure down on the pelvic floor, we need to know how to engage it fast. So most of these exercises I've showed you are how to engage it, and now we're going to get the fast contraction. So literally, I want you to inhale to relax, and then following your own breath, you're going to do 10 quick pulses of the pelvic floor. Like you're like sneezing and you're pulling up on the pelvic floor. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Breathing the whole time, and then totally relax. So I'm going to use my cheat sheet. So yeah, really just how to cope with pressure, and you just want to relax, contract fast. So we're going to do 10 reps like that. Squeeze, squeeze, whatever your pace is, but you're getting those 10 repetitions. Doesn't matter about the breath this time, it's just quick contractions. 3, 2, 1. So that's the fast. So